Hello, happy Sunday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this impromptu tea time, tea and story time. The noise you hear is my new tea kettle. Check this out. Check this bad boy out. Electronic, plug it in. The water will be boiling in 4 minutes. It has a nice little blue light around it, which is pretty cool. Got it for $20. Can't complain about that. But anyway, let me first order of business. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Arm distance. Don. Tommy Stiggs. Arlene. Maureen. Mike F. Adam. Who else is here? Let's say Stephen Morinello. How are you? Don't want to miss anyone. Don't want to miss anyone. Don't want to miss anyone. I think I hit everybody that at least commented. There might be more people here, but there's at least commenting. I know this thing's a bit noisy, so I'm gonna put it down here. All right. Okay. So for today, let's see what tea we're going to have today, this afternoon. Got out my old box here. And what do I got here? I think last time we had blackberry. I think maybe I'll do blueberry this time. Got my trusty kettle, my just trusty Japanese kettle ready. Smells a bit blueberry. Man, I mean, you can't really see this because of the angle of the camera, but is that better? Let me see. Better, a little bit better. There we go. Let me go down to catch up in the chat here and see where we are here. Yes, Tommy is on the move. It's a Sunday. He's on the move. Not surprised. So while that's boiling, like I said, it takes 4 minutes for it to reach a boiling point. Then we'll put it in here. We'll pour it into the kettle, the little kettle, little Japanese kettle. And then we will let it brew for a bit while we start the part 2 of the story from Friday. And, this story, like many others, has a moral. And the moral of the story is greed gets you, right? Greed is never good. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for joining. Todd Father, how are you? Thank you for joining. It's taking a little bit longer than I thought, but it's supposed to take 4 minutes to boil. I guess it depends on how much water you have in it too. And I have I think 3 cups of water in it, maybe 4 cups worth of water in it. So it's going to take a little bit longer for that water to boil. All right. So, hey, and by the way, if you like the story, which is the ghost hoax of Morristown, there's a great book on it. This has so much detail in it. This book, it's written by Peter Zablocki. Peter Zablocki. It's on Amazon. And I'll, you know what I'll do? I'll put a link to it in the description after the show, so that in case anyone wants to read it, it's good reading. It's not that long. It's about 100 pages long, I think. Yeah, 100 pages long, and it's a lot more detail around the story. It's really interesting. You know, how crazy the story was and what went on, and how they have such records of it. You know, from 200 and plus years ago, almost 250 years ago, 220 some odd years ago, more than that, 240 years ago. All right, so this is almost done here. I'm going to pull it off. All right. All right. Nice little brewing there. It smells good. Smelling good already. Very nice. We'll let that brew for a little bit. And of course, I have my Nana's teacups here. Can't have tea time without Nana's teacups. All right, so let's get to part two of the ghost hoax of Morristown. So when we last left the story, Ransford and his partner, Goodenough, had bilked the crowd, bilked the 40 some odd men of 12 pounds of gold or silver. And Goodenough took off, left town, whereas Ramsford decided to go back to Morristown and try to live a normal life, I guess. Who knows? He made enough money that he didn't have to work. So the first thing he does is he resigns as the schoolmaster. So no longer working, just kind of hanging out there in his new house that he bought in Morristown proper with the gold that he got. Now, this is just amazing to me that this went on and nobody said anything about it. Nobody said, you know, no one was wise enough or had enough anger about this to say anything. But anyway, he does that. He buys a house and proceeds to live in Morristown. Now you think Goodenough, you know, you would think, no, Goodenough was the smart one, right? He got out of town figuring, you know, there's a reckoning coming for this con. But Ransford stays. And he would have gotten completely away with it, just like Goodenough did, if he didn't get into round 2 of the con. So the moral of the story, like I said, is greed will get you every time. So how does round 2 happen? Well, it just so happens that 2 travelers from New England knock on his door one day and say, listen, we heard from a traveler that we met while we were coming south on such an amazing con you did and how much money you made. We want in on it. How can we do this? How can we do this? How can we make some money? Now, if you're Ransford, what do? Do you say no? Or do you jump in and say, oh, no, I have more accomplices. Maybe we can get more money out of this. Now, the problem with saying no, though, is if they really, obviously they have some knowledge of this. Now, where they got the knowledge from, my guess is it would be Goodenough. Goodenough left and told someone about the con, because who else would know? None of the other people involved would have said anything, because if they did, you know, if they knew it was a con, they would have, you know, went to the authorities and had him arrested, but they didn't. So it had to be Goodenough that was bragging. And anyway, so if these guys know this was a con, they can always turn him in if he doesn't say anything, right? So, so he goes along with this, and they devise a new plan. Now, the con is different this time, a little bit different, same premise, but a little bit different. This time, they're not going to. Let me get this off. Hi, Athendu. How you doing, buddy? I just saw you come in. Edwin, how are you, sir? Good to see you. I don't know if I missed anybody else. I hope I haven't. But anyway, so the second part of the con. First part of the con, as we know, was all about getting on the greed of these wealthy landowners. Well, this time the landowners are out of it, right? He can't go back to the well. He can't. That they're going to know something's up. So they decide what they're going to do is go one level down, right? Go one level down in the economic chain. Let's go with people with less money, but let's go with people that are religious. And at this time, there was something going on called the Great Awakening in the Protestant religions, which was this real movement that people had to do a lot more good on earth in order to get into heaven, right? So you have a lot of people that time that are believing, let's go out and let's do good things because we want to get into heaven. So they capitalize on that. And the scam this time is about how let's go out to prominent church people in the area and let's convince them that we can get them treasure from same treasure, but we're going to get it for them so that they can do good with it on earth. It's not going to be for their own greed. It's going to be for their churches to feed the poor, help the downtrodden. That's what we're going to get them to do, right? So they proceed to go around and start meeting with people, the three of them, the two guys from New England and Ransford. They go around and start meeting people and telling them to come, that they know about this, come to this meeting. We know about this treasure. This treasure is going to be great for you. We only want to do this with people we trust, people that are men of God, because they're the people that are going to do good with this. This is these are spirits that are trapped. We need to help them. It's our duty. It's our spiritual duty to help them get off of earth and go up to heaven where they belong. In order to do that, we need to take this treasure off of their hands. And then you will be the guardian of the treasure and you'll decide what to do with it. Give it out, help the poor, whatever Christian thing you're going to do with it. So he brings all these people together at Ransford's house. And it's similar to the first con. There's a circle only this time it's inside. There's a circle on the floor with candles around it. And the people have to get in a circle and start walking around. And there's only about 8 of them at first. And as they're doing this, circling around, they hear noises. They hear banging and the window shaking. They hear moaning. They hear all types of noises. Now the people are, they're apprehensive. What's going on here? Is this what's happening? What are we witnessing? Well, something spiritual is happening. At least that's what Ransford tells them. This is a sign that it's working. This is a sign that they're coming forward. So they do this. They continue to do this. So he says, okay, now at this point, we have to stop. We have to stop. And what everyone needs to do, in the center, there is a table of the circle. And on that table is pieces of paper. Everyone needs to take a piece of paper, put it around their arm, wrinkle it, crawl it around their arm, close their eyes, and walk outside. So everyone does this. Everyone takes a piece of paper, puts it around their arms, closes their eyes, and proceeds to go outside and waits. And they're all standing outside with their arms extended with a piece of paper around it until Ransford comes out and says, okay, now everyone look at your papers. The message from the spirits will be on the paper. So only one person has the message though. So one person opens up the piece of paper and it says, yes, come back. You are all chosen. This is the right group. You're all chosen. This is the way to get our spirits free. Come back within 1 week and we will tell you more. Now, of course, Ransford and company had written one of this on the sheets and buried it in there. So one person pulled it out. They have their eyes closed at the time, so they're not looking at what's on the paper. And the one person thought, wow, and everyone is looking, whoa, how did that happen? No one's thinking it's a con. No one's thinking about that. All their true belief is that this is a spirit and this is happening. All right, let's pour this. Oh, look at that color. Woo, that is blue. Oh, it's red, more like red, but it's supposed to be blueberry. Look at that. Look at that color. Woo. I hope that tastes good. It smells really sweet. It smells like blueberry pie. If you ever had blueberry pie, and I think it's the time of year now, right? The end of May, early June is a good time for New Jersey blueberries, especially, but it's a good time for blueberry pie. It has like that tangy taste of a blueberry. Like, it's not sugary, obviously. There's no sugar in this, but it does taste a little bit like blueberries. Interesting. Patty Daly. Hi, Patty. How are you? Thank you for joining. All right, now back to the story. So they come back the next week and they do the same thing. They do the same process. In the circle, doing the circle around and around. Now, a bunch of these people, of these 8 people, there were immediately some of them thought that something was up here. This is not something that makes sense to me. This might be a little fishy. And one person in particular who happened to be a lector at one of the churches, and a lot of people looked up to him as a spiritual leader in that area, and he was a bit skeptical. So Ransford gets a sign of this, right? Gets a hold of this and gets a sense of it. Maybe it's his con artist, his natural con artist or abilities, but he gets the word on this. Like he says, he does something's not right here. So what he decides to do is wait till that guy goes home and then visit him specifically as a ghost. So he gets a white sheet on over his head, puts his hat on, puts a white sheet on it, tattered clothes underneath, and visits him that night. And this is the genius of the con. He visits him that night, catches him outside his home, says, "Don't turn around. If you turn around, great evil will befall you. You cannot come close to me." So the guy goes along with it. He's a little startled. It's pitch black. It's 1789. It's pitch black. No light anywhere. And says, "But wait a minute. Why are you coming to visit me? What is the problem?" And he said, "Well, listen, the ghost, Ransford as the ghost says, listen, I have chosen you to be the conduit. You are to be the conductor. Ransford no longer will be the conductor. It must be you. You will be our representative," which is kind of genius. You find the skeptic and you bring him back into the fold by giving him more power, giving him more, he's really going to buy into this because he's now the direct contact of the spirits. So good job, Ransford. Good thinking. So this guy buys into it, hook, line, and sinker with that experience. So the second time they're at Ransford's home, they start the process again of going in the circle and praying. Now, this is the second part of this, that they have to get down on their knees and they must pray. And this guy is going to lead them in the prayer. So he leads them in the prayer. And as they're doing this, they hear noises again, and it's Ransford's buddies making noises and throwing things around, moving things around, showing that the spirits have been aroused. And and then we get to the point again where everyone needs to take their piece of paper and go outside. And then the message will come. Now, who do you think the message is going to come to this time? It's not going to be at random. It's going to be specifically towards the conduit, the guy that they conned into being the lead. And so how Ransford does that, I don't know. It doesn't specifically say, but somehow the conduit, the guy, gets the sheet of paper, and on the sheet of paper it says, "Come back in 1 week, bring not more than 12 pounds of gold." Remember, 12 pounds of gold from the first con, and no less than 6 pounds. So they smartened up, because last time Ransford found that a lot of people had a hard time coming up with the 12 pounds of gold. So, and he had to accept as low as 6 pounds. So, and there was a risk in doing that, right? How could Ransford arbitrarily change this? So let's make the spirits put the parameters up front. So if these guys couldn't get it, at least they'll come up with 6 pounds, right? So another smart move on Ransford's part. And of course, everyone is in full belief at this point. This is it. This is it. We're going forward with this. This is the way to go. All right. So another week goes by. And in this time period, Ransford and his buddies start visiting more than just a conduit. They start visiting multiple people to make sure the next time the group gets together, everyone's going to have a story of being met by a spirit, and each story is going to be a little bit different. So again, a smart move to keep everybody enthralled, keep everybody feeling they're important and part of this group. The spirits are reaching out to them directly. So that the next time comes and everyone starts showing up, and they each bring their satchel of gold with them. So, But this time, they're not meeting in Ransford's house. They're meeting 100 yards outside of Ransford's house, where a circle has been drawn again on the ground made of stone. This time it's made of stone, and it's near the woods. And they're all go into the circle and again start praying as they walk. They're walking around and they are praying. And suddenly they hear an explosion. Now, remember the explosions from the past. Now, this one is not a big one like the one that disrupted everything in the prior con. This one is a little one, and this little one, it's the same concoction. It's the same ditch filled with gunpowder and some other characteristics that cause a lot of smoke to come up. So as the smoke comes up, everyone stops and freezes. And out of the smoke comes a figure. And again, it's one of Ransford's buddies, dressed as the ghost, comes forward and proclaims, "Now is the time to present your money, which will prove to us, the spirits, that you are in this for the good of God. You are in this by presenting us with money, you will prove to us that you're going to use the money we provide you with to give to the poor and to feed those that are downtrodden." Hi, Arm Distance and Teresa Citrullo. How are you? Great to see you guys. Thank you for joining. So the spirit says, now the time to present your money. Everyone come out in order of oldest to youngest and put your money and put your satchel of money on the trees. Under this specific tree. I'm sorry, there's one specific tree, under this specific tree. So they all proceed to do this one at a time, and they put their money there, and they put their money down, and they put their money down. And then the ghost quietly fades into the darkness and says, await our next contact, await our next contact, await our next contact. And he fades back into the woods. So everybody's still full bore here, right? They're fully signed into this. And they presented their money, right? So they all go home that night. Now, what's Ransford's next move? He has the money. He has all the money. But he can't just vanish yet. He has a house that he owns there. It's too risky. He needs to prolong this. He needs to make arrangements to make his escape. So in order to do this, what he does is he schedules another meeting of that group. And at that and that meeting comes back again, and Ransford says, well, I've received a message from the spirits, and what the spirits want me to do is hand you each one of these satchels of their bones. Now, these satchels are filled with remnants of their bones, like chopped up, smashed bones, dust, like as if someone was cremated with their shells of bones in it. And he has one for each one of the people. Now, the people are a little scared now. What is this? I don't want to take this. I don't want to take bones with me. I don't want to take this stuff with me. And this is all part of the second part of his plan, which is to make sure everybody keeps their mouth shut. Now, how is he going to do that? He's going to do that by, one, embarrassing them or making them fearful that they themselves, if anyone found out that they took human bones back in this time period, they would be accused of being a devil worshiper or being a witch or something that would be certainly anti-Christian, and they would be kicked out of the church. So this is something he's going to use against them to blackmail them, to keep them quiet. In addition to that, he also, at this meeting, says the spirits have also told that you all must take a drink of this, all of this drink. And what he has there is hard cider that he made. And he keeps saying they must continue to drink. They must continue to drink. So now these people are all sent home drunk beyond belief, like tremendously drunk, because that's the other part of this. He wants them to have these bones, right? Carry these bones so that they'll have something to blackmail them. He also wants them to be embarrassed by being publicly drunk. He wants people to see them being publicly drunk, just in case any of them comes out and says that this is a scam or Ransford did this. People will say, but you were drunk. How would you know that? You're publicly drunk. So great moves of a con man in thinking this through to protect himself and create his escape out of here. So this is all going well, right? But there's one wrinkle that happens, in which ultimately leads to his downfall. And it really is the bones that lead to the downfall. Because what happens is one of those people, and his name is Carmichael, brings the bones home. Now, these are on human bones, by the way, but nobody knows that. They're like animal bones that they crushed up and put into the thing. But Carmichael brings this home and forgets it, leaves the satchel out on his kitchen table, and his wife finds it. And the wife sees this and has a panic attack and says, "What is this? You're practicing witchcraft? What is this?" So he has to tell her what happened. He needs to tell her the whole thing. Now, she's very upset about this, doesn't want, very concerned about this. Very, what is going on? This doesn't make any sense to me. And what she does is she goes to the local reverend and tells the reverend and brings the bones to the reverend. The reverend doesn't want to touch the bones either. He's concerned about this. What is this? Is your husband practicing witchcraft? What is happening? And then she begins to go around and tell everyone in the neighborhood, like in the community, that Ransford was handing out all of these bones, right? So now now Ransford starts to get back to Ransford, that this is going on. People are looking at him strangely. People are running away from him, or not going near him, or not inviting him to dinner, not associating with him. Anytime he's around, people scatter and go away. So this is not good. This is not good. He is now a public figure of some type. People are talking about him. He doesn't want this. He needs complete silence. He needs to get away with the money. So what does he do? He decides, listen, this is the time that I'm going to have to go to Carmichael's house, and I need to put the scare into these people. I need to scare them to keep their mouths shut and to reaffirm what's going on. So the goal is to go to Carmichael's house dressed as a ghost. Now, unfortunately, the mistake he makes is that Ransford decides to tie one on at the local tavern before doing it. So he's 3 sheets to the wind when he puts on his sheet. And when he goes to the house, he forgets to bring his voice modulator type of thing, which is the cans with the holes in it that turns his voice. So he's talking as the ghost, as Ransford. He calls, and he's drunk. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He knows he wants to do this, but he doesn't really know or think through what's going on. The guy comes out. Carmichael comes out to meet him outside because he calls him outside. He comes outside and he hears a ghost slurring his words. Now, while this is going on, Carmichael's wife is peeking through the window, and what she notices is that the ghost has dirty shoes that are sticking out from underneath the sheet. So the word is out, right? The word is out. She knows he's full of crap. So Carmichael, listens to the ghost. Carmichael's still believing this, believe it or not, still believing it. He's a bit shaken now. He goes back inside, and the wife tells him, "What are you doing? This is not a ghost." And he goes, blah blah blah. He doesn't, and she goes, "Go out there and look." So the next morning, Carmichael leaves. Not Carmichael. Ransford leaves. Ransford leaves in the night, stumbles away to his horse and gallops off, right? The next morning, she tells him, "Go outside and see. I'm telling you, this was not a ghost. This was a guy." She goes out. They go outside and they see, there was a heavy dew that night, and they see footprints in where the ghost stood, and they follow the footprints, until they find horse prints, and they follow the horse prints. And where do the horse prints go? The horse prints go off into a barn on a neighboring farm. And as they open the barn door, they find Ransford passed out drunk in the barn with his sheet and apparatus right there. So obviously the constable is called. He gets arrested and brought into custody. Now, and he's really hungover at this point, right? But however, he's still a con man, and he's still sticking to his story, right? He's sticking to his story in terms of, this is a misunderstanding. I don't know what you're talking about. I got a little drunk. I fell and I was sleeping it off. The sheet was there, blah, blah, blah. But no one's really buying it at this point. So they lock him up. They put him in jail. Now, a week goes by and he's in jail waiting for the circuit judge to come by so that they can, have a trial for this con man. And during this time period, someone bails him out of jail. They don't know who, but someone bails him out of jail. Obviously, it had to be one of his two conspirators with him, the two guys from New England, that helped him out. But they bail him out of jail on the promise, of course, with any like bail to this day, the promise that you're going to show up in jail, you don't leave, and you show up for the actual trial, or you forfeit the bail. Well, so that's fine. They let him out. He goes back to his home. Now, of course, he wasn't going to hang around. Once he was freed, he makes a beeline to get out with the money. And as he's doing it, he is caught on the outskirts of town by two guys that happen to recognize him, grab him, beat him up pretty well, bring him back. And finally, he admits everything. He admits both scams. He admits both. So what happens is they're able to recoup the money from the second scam. The first scam, the money's gone. There's no money. It's gone. But they were able to recoup the second scam money from him. And he's in jail. And now this is the mystery of the whole thing, is that somehow he escapes from jail, believe it or not. He escapes from jail and disappears. And no one in Morristown knows what happens to him from then on. He really gets away with it from that angle, in the sense that he escaped the actual judge's gavel. He took off somewhere. Now, he forfeited his house and all that. They took all that to try to recoup for some of the victims. But in the end, he did escape justice ultimately from Morristown and the people of Morristown by escaping to, I assume, New England or someplace. But the moral of the story is greed will always take you down. Greed in the first con took down all those people and took away their money, and greed took him down because he had to go in on the second con, and he lost everything because of the second con. If he would have just kept his mouth shut and stayed the way he was, he would have gotten away with it. And despite all of his smart maneuvering and shrewd operating, justice ultimately was served, and the ghost of Morristown was known to be the ghost hoax of Morristown. So that's the story. That's the story on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. That's part 2 of my story. I hope you liked it. Let me look in the chat here and see what's happening here. The judge let him out? No, he escaped. Judge didn't let him out. He never got to the judge because he was waiting for the judge, and somehow he escaped, and no one knows how that happened, or there's no record of it, at least, of how he escaped. But it's factual that he never went to trial. He escaped it. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Citrullo. See what else is going on here in the let's see what's going on in the chat here. Oh, thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Yeah, Houdini, right? Citrullo. He was a crafty guy, I'll tell you that much. He really was crafty. No reading of tea leaves, JJ. I don't have those skills. I don't have I can only drink the tea leaves. I can't read them. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, right. Bernie Madoff of the 1700s. That's a good one, arm distance. That's a good one. That's a good description. What else is going on here? Yeah, so that's the story. I hope you really enjoyed that. And like I said, if you really want more details about it and interested enough, this is a great book on it, and it tells you all the details. This guy Peter Zablocki, he did a lot of research on this and put this together based on actual documentations, 2 pamphlets on the story that were from the time. One was from 1790, and I think the other one was 1820 or something. So there were 2 different pamphlets in time that told the story, and he did all the research and pulled it together to put this, finish this work on it. This I believe is the prevailing historical work on the story. See what else you guys talking about here, if I'm missing anything. All right. Everyone just still saying hello to each other. That's very cool as always, because this is a great group of people. They're awesome. Mike F. I think I said hello to you, Mike F. before. Yeah, and I hope I hit everybody, or at least said hello to everybody here. But yeah, again, as always, if anyone has any stories that they'd like to share with me to tell or to tell themselves, I'm more than happy to let you have my platform to do it. But I love these type of stories in terms of they're unique. They make, and I love time, stories in time like this, a specific period of time where things were different. It says a lot about society and how things really haven't changed much, right? Things have changed a lot, but they really haven't changed much. Human nature has not changed. The con has always been there, and the con will always be there, and there'll always be people falling for the con, unfortunately. But yeah. So anyway, listen, that's my story. I've been on 37 minutes. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'll stay on a little bit longer if anyone has any questions for me or anything they want to say anything. But that's the story. Gianni, how are you, buddy? Oh, you just joined. You got to go back and listen to the. You got to come back and listen to the replay. You got to. It's a great second part of the story from the Friday night story. It's worth listening to. At least if I don't say so myself, Who knows if you had someone who really knew how to tell a story, it might be even better. Not just somebody that babbles like I do. All right. Well, anyway, guys, I want to, as always, thank you so much for joining. Spending some time with me while I drink a cup of tea and see if there's anything more in my tea. Is there anything more in here? There's some more in here. Okay. I forget how small these teacups are. And that's like I get three of these little cups out of these kettles, out of these Japanese kettles. All from one bag of tea, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because this the more you drink it, the more blueberry you taste in it. And you get the illusion of sugar. There's no sugar in it, but you get the illusion of sweetness, I guess, because you're used to the taste being associated with sweetness. So I feel it tastes sweet to me, kind of, and then it goes away because it's not really sugar. But that's an interesting thing about your taste buds. You're used to associating the blueberry tastes with the sweetness. Patty Demi Tass cups, is that what they're called? I don't know. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Like I don't know if you know the story behind this. These are 100 years old. These cups. They were my grandmother's, and her aunt bought them, or her mother. Well, her mother died when she was 1 years old. Her mother died in the flu of 1918, the Spanish flu of 1918, and she was raised by her aunt and uncle. So she was called her aunt, her mother, and she bought this. Bought these things and handed them down. So they're over 100 years old. They were bought in the 20s. Oh, Claudio, how are you, buddy? I've been listening to some of those music lives you've been doing. That's pretty cool. Those premieres. Then that's really nice. Yes, blueberry tea. Yes, Gianni. Yep, blueberry tea. Small cups of spotted tea. Yeah, Arlene. Right. Yep. Yep. I can't believe I have 16 people hanging out here. I already had my coffee. I already told my story. What are you waiting for? You should be leaving. Pinky extended. Yes, Pinky extended. Tell another story. No, I don't have another story. Listen, Johnny, my stories take some time, my friend. I need to think them through, and I need to memorize some of them too. I don't like, some of them are just like this one. It took me a while to memorize this song because it's so big. It's such a big story, and it's in so different parts. There's so many different things that went on over the course of that year. But I'll think of it. I'll get another one. I'll always going to get another one. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get another one. I wanted to look into. I don't know if anybody heard about this. Benjamin Franklin published an article in the 1730s about witch trials occurring in New Jersey, in Mount Holly, New Jersey. So I want to look into that and see if there's a story behind that. I always thought that was kind of fascinating. So there actually were witch trials in New Jersey during that time period, which is kind of late. The Salem witch trials were 1690s. So for something to occur in like 1735, that's pretty late for a witch trial. You'd think that people had woken up by then to not believe in witches running rampant. Like people still believe in, those type of witches to this day. So I guess not. But to have a trial where people were, threatened with their lives. I know no one died, unlike Salem. There was no one executed, but I just think the whole thing is pretty interesting. So I'm going to look into that and see if there's a story behind it. Yeah, Patty. Yep. Build the guild. Yes, build the guild. By the way, we're doing. I just want to say thank you to everybody because I'm doing great with subs, man. 1,040 last I checked. So that's friggin' amazing, and it's all because you guys supporting me and talking me up or sharing or whatever you're doing, because it's pretty amazing. So many people would honor me by subbing. I really appreciate it. A Ouija board? No Ouija boards. No, I don't like that stuff. I don't like that stuff, Nancy. No Ouija boards. That's creepy stuff. That's a little bit too creepy. I like telling a creepy story, but I wouldn't be doing it myself. There's also a story about, I'm stuck with New Jersey, so I'm going to do New Jersey. I like New Jersey. That's where I am. So, and the folklore of it is something that's not really prevalent and not really known. So I kind of like to delve into it a bit. And there's a story about the spy that helped George Washington when he crosses the Delaware to surprise the Hessians on Christmas night. And there's a whole thing backstory on this, like whether the guy they credit with this being that spy actually was that spy, or was he really a British spy. So it's kind of wacky. It's kind of it really piqued my interest to see if he really was the guy behind the scenes. It's so hard to find concrete evidence supporting who was a spy and who wasn't, because they destroyed all that stuff. God forbid anybody ever found it out during the war, people's lives would be in danger. So it's really hard to get back. And they used code names for people too. So, it's really hard. So this story is about John, what is his name? His name was John Honeyman, right? And he's the guy that has been credited with being Washington's spy, but there is a whole thing about whether he actually was or not. He might have been on the other side. He might have been on the British side. So that's crazy. Something like that's crazy. And to go on for 200 years without people knowing it is amazing. But that's a story for another day. All right. Well, anyway, guys, I'm gonna check out now. It's 45 minutes, good solid 45 minutes. That's more than my time. My story's done. And I hope I piqued your interest. I hope I got you interested this afternoon on a Sunday. You sat back, you're relaxed, and you enjoyed the story, because that's my goal. I just like telling the stories, and I like entertaining you guys from that angle. So I hope you enjoyed it, and come back again at the next. I know that I put up a thing for Thursday's wine, which will be the next wine that we'll taste, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do Thursday. We're playing it by ear because of lacrosse games, my son's lacrosse games, and I think that's the last lacrosse game. So I may not be able to do it, but we'll find out. I'm going to check the timing and we'll see. And if not, whatever, we'll do it on another day. We'll see. But I always, as always, appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for watching. And I hope everybody has a great, blessed Sunday and relaxing and get ready for the week coming up. So Memorial Day is right around the corner. So everyone have a great time. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time on the Wine Guild.